What is that? Taylor, you can hide the screen.
Everybody else, you can record your mic. Sorry about you.
Yes, yeah, and it was like a sex. Ready? We're ready. You guys hear me? All right, cool. So first of all, are you sure you're at the right panel? Because we did not expect this many people to show up. I think the Nintendo panel's across the way. But thank you all for coming. We're all excited to have everybody here. It's going to be hopefully a fun panel, fun session, and we're going to try to do as much interaction with everybody as possible. So yeah, as you can see, 7 is better than a 10 when mediocre games attack. So I'm sure you guys all know what review scores are, and you get a game that's a perfect 10, but you still hate it, but then the game that's a 7, you manage to love it. So we're going to tell you why that is so, and what games you should absolutely love, and which ones maybe you'll hate us for mentioning. So let's start a little bit with who we are and why you should blindly follow our advice. I'm Dolly Demoski. I am the editor-in-chief of SideQuesting.com. I have 10% of the time I used to have to play video games because I have a 12-year-old and she still loves game consoles now. And I love games that other people seem to not love, especially all those really bad, like Final Fantasy games that everybody is. Pocket is awesome.
So you also hate all the games that
I also hate all
everybody else
the. I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
Oh, I'm JJ Holder. Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I'm an editor over at Side Questing too. I am kind of the retro gaming guy at Side Questing. If it's hardware, I have it. And if it's a retro compilation, they send it to me.
And he plays it.
Yeah,
Plays it.
yeah.
He's bought everything on the show floor.
And Battletoads is -7. So.
Oh, that's me. Hi. I'm Sarah. I've been a game journalist for about 15 years, so try not to do math on that. I know I'm very old. Yeah, I love 7 out of 10 games.
And she's been at every E3 that matters. That rest in peace.
I have not been to every day, but I have been to probably the last E3.
Everyone, I'm
You
telling
can't see, you gotta stand up.
I'm not gonna stand up. You'll just have to imagine me behind the monitor. Everybody that can see me will see me. I'm also an editor over at Side Questing. I did play Final Fantasy 14 very fast. I didn't quite make it before Shadowbringers came out, but I was very close.
So just grinding.
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, I was working full time, and I have a 14-month-old, so that was also a little bit from that.
Working full time and working from home.
Working from home, yes, that made it a little bit easier. That included game because I got my Steam Deck last week, which is
Just in time.
just in time for my trip to PAX.
Yes, the Steam Deck is a 7 out of 10. Sorry, controversy. And
I'm Todd Johnson. I am currently the editor at SideQuest.com. I used to do this professionally for other outlets for about 5 or 6 years. I don't anymore, and I'm actually very happy to yeah, and Dolly wrote these, so I'm looking what you wrote for me. It only plays a game long enough to make sure it doesn't become hard. You know what? That is actually very true. I'm really good at playing games for about 6 hours. And then that's it. Let me tell you about Elden Ring. I played that same like 6 hours, but the same first over there.
Tom's like the poster child for get out of the game industry, don't get into it.
It's great. My quality of life is wonderful now.
Get sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on the discourse. It's wonderful.
So what is a 7? Why is it better than a 10? I'm sure everybody has opinion on that. We're gonna discuss. So, what is a 7? Well, 7's the natural number following of seeing a game, obviously, and I just found out it's the only prime number for seeing a cube. So that's how we.
Thank you for citing Wikipedia.
Yes, it's Wikipedia. It's the airplane on the way over here. It's actually updated. We're literally duct tape.
28 slides isn't enough. I need to.
Surprise, it's actually a math panel.
It's a math panel, okay. Get your calculators out. What are some well-known 7s? At 7 Days in a Week, 7 Sins, 7 Kingdoms in Westeros.
We have so much time.
Yeah.
Why don't you spend time writing?
And this is, I'm telling you, it was a very short flight, but there were a lot of coffee.
I take it you went to Taco Bell before.
And I went to Taco Bell on the way to the airport, and the chicken quesadilla is the number 7 on Taco Bell.
You said it was a very short flight because judging from this deck, I thought it would be a very long.
It's long for the people next to me. So what about games? So what are 7s in games? There's 7 slides here. See, very mad. To discuss discussing what 7s are in games. So I think the first one is you can go back to a game again and again, mostly because it's not super memorable. Like to me, that is something that defines a 7. I can't remember certain games, like any major points, but I remember liking the game. I don't know. Do you guys get that same sentiment sometimes? Like, I remember playing it. That's all I remember. So I'll play it again.
It's like Vanquish.
Vanquish.
Go back to
Oh,
Vanquish,
really?
like, what's Vanquish about? I just remember sliding around and shooting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true.
You think Bulletstorm would be a sim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally just made me think of it.
Bulletstorm?
Well, let's try to be great.
So
So,
we played as before.
what games have you guys kind of gone back to a lot over time?
That's an unfair question.
Well, you,
What game hasn't JJ gone back to?
which Game Boy Color Mega Man game have you gone back to?
I've played Mega Man 3 on the Game Boy 1,000 times, and we played 1,000 more.
I was gonna say, I think
You were a sick out.
I'm ready.
We do have medical staff here at JJ to help you out.
Yeah, because you're all gonna need it.
Yeah, you're all gonna need it.
Not me.
For me, it's any of the older Final Fantasy games. I'm not ripping on Final Fantasy, I swear, it's gonna be Final Fantasy love fest. But you know, they were a little janky back in the day, obviously the NES games.
Don't look at me like I'm gonna agree with you.
Some of the Dragon Quest games, that's the Dragon Quest. I love Dragon Quest 2, even though it was kind of a long, tedious game.
Famous 7, Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I was just keep saying, like, I'm universally beloved.
I think we're just about next slide time.
Okay, fine. It scratches an itch that never really goes away. It's like you play this game, the 7, because you're like, I don't know why I like it, but it
connected.
It connected.
I like that. It talks to you, Bruce.
Zelda 2.
Zelda 2.
The original Adventure of Link, to me, scratches an itch. I didn't know that I needed that game way back when I was a toddler playing it, and now I'll still go back to it and think, oh, that's actually kind of
Toddler, he's playing. He's been really,
Yeah.
real generous.
Really generous. Teamler. You know, you get that feeling that I'm actually kind of satisfied playing the game. You know, there's a level of satisfaction when you're playing something that you don't know why, it just kind of manages to get you, get you feeling like you're somewhat fulfilled and ready to move on to something else.
It's fine. It's fine for the time being.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine for the time being. We're going to rename this instead of 7. It's fine for the time being. I think that's a really
Did you like
great way.
resubmit?
Yeah, I'm going to resubmit the panel. Like, are there any specific, like, you have a lot of, I'm looking at you, JJ, all the time because of JJ. But you play a lot of retro games, and classic games aren't always the best.
Oh, almost 80% of them are absolutely just broken messes. You have to
You
appreciate
keep going back to them.
Oh, yeah, because, especially when you're a kid, you know, it just talks to you in the best person. Like, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, not a great game, hard as hell, but I don't know, I keep going back to it because I just remember it. I remember parts of it. I don't want to go underwater again, but I play the rest of it.
Like sewer level.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Absolutely not.
So, like, it's a lot of, like, classic games tend to fall into that. A lot of NES, Super NES, and even early PlayStation. Battle Arena to Shinden. Remember that? I was like, looking back now, if you try those games now, you're thinking, why did I like it? It was not good. But nostalgia really kind of clouds it. So, next slide. Speaking of which, its bugs aren't annoying, they're endearing, right? Oh, it's got bugs.
Sometimes.
I mean, that's, a lot of the speedrunning community is built on the fact that these games have a lot of just.
It's true. As an example, like I love Skyrim. Skyrim's a great game. It's not a 7 Skyrim's definitely higher. But I remember playing it and speaking to one of my coworkers who's a huge Skyrim fan, and they loved just like the weird stuff that would happen during Skyrim. Like, you remember he was telling me one time about a horse appearing on top of a dragon and seeing this like dragon horse weird combination flying around. And I thought, that back in the day, bugs
I
were.
mean,
Yeah, maybe it's Elden Ring now.
when I'm playing Skyrim, like dragons would sometimes just fall out of the sky. And then one time a dragon spawned in my house. What am I even? Does it not go with my decor? What am I doing?
Are you sure this isn't like real life happening? Like dragon flies?
It's the second most case for drinking beers.
But some bugs are great. They're just they're so stupid that you want to go back to it.
Yeah, I think Bethesda bugs are like their own category.
Yeah.
Because like,
Bethesda bugs.
there it is, something wrong.
It's like way different than StarCraft bugs, Bethesda bugs. But yeah, it's like sometimes the bugs are almost worth enjoying. I mean, like we mentioned Elden Ring, and boy, is Elden Ring. Yeah, who's playing Elden Ring? Everybody, a bunch of folks playing Elden Ring. Who hates that they're playing Elden Ring still? Yeah. And obviously, who had wolves fall out of the sky while they're, yeah, there you go. Wolves fall out of the
That's not
sky.
a bug.
That's not a bug, that's a feature.
It's endearing.
But it's not a bug.
It's endearing.
It's supposed to happen.
Okay, sure, Jim.
Plenty of other bugs in Elden Ring. You go for the wolves falling out
I
of
go
the
for the
sky.
wolves because of me. But yeah, anyways, sometimes you get those things in games, you're like, why is this happening? But it's not supposed to be. Number 4, it's not about the graphics, but the graphics are good enough. You know, a lot of times you'll come across games that they're not 4K, or if they are 4K, they're like maybe 3.5K.
Upscaled 720.
They're upscaled 720, but they look good enough. You know, they kind of get the job done. You're not necessarily always looking at the visuals in some
You'll
games.
absolutely see that in almost every one of the games we've listed on.
Yes, our list of games is gonna be pretty fun. But you know, graphics in kind of this genre, you get, or this kind of rating, I guess. You see that a lot in review scores. They'll say, yeah, it was, you know, really enjoyable game. It didn't look so hot. You know, was it Two Worlds? All the Two Worlds games, and a couple RPGs of the Two World series that were not great games, and the visuals weren't great, but you know, you kind of lived through it. So yeah, not the best visuals, but they get the job done, I guess. The games fill a gap. This is a big one. I think you were mentioning this. One of you guys mentioned this the other day too.
Some genres just don't get filled
Yes.
as they used to. Back in the day, you used to be able to just get side-scrolling beat-em-ups all the time, or shmups or whatever, and they just kind of don't exist anymore. So every once in a while, one of these will come along that is just like, it's fine. I haven't played one of these games in a while, and it plays well. I can go back to it. It's not, you know, Galaga like or something, but it's close enough.
Galaga is a great game.
Yeah.
I'm old and I love Galaga.
Especially since you've seen, like, ever since I took the PS3 era, you've seen a sharp downturn in like the B and C tier games.
Yeah.
And then become drastically more expensive.
You start seeing it come back with like XBLA a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Oh,
of-
everyone messed up XBLA games.
And a lot of those are just broken messes.
Yeah.
They were like,
Oh, man, there's such a difference with the, like that indies, like the real, like anyone can sell public on this big section.
Oh,
it's just like,
Back then when they put on like, oh.
the X-Blade, Xbox Live Indie games.
That's it, yeah.
Xbox Live Indie
I
stuff.
love twin stick
I was
shooters, but
gonna
man,
say,
it's
I do Xbox, that's a completely different thing.
Sometimes you just want some like video game comfort food, you know, in between the big, like I just finished playing Horizon Forbidden West, which in my opinion is like epic game of the year quality game, amazing. I did everything, I platinumed it, and when I finished playing that, like I didn't want to play another game like that. I just wanted something that I, you know, could just enjoy casually. You know, so I'm searching on Game Pass for just like, you know, just something I can download and play quickly, and it doesn't have to change my life, but it'll be fine.
I like that. It doesn't change your life. It's comfort food, and you can find it on Xbox Game Pass. Those are good bullet points for like a solid
I think we
7.
just wrote the new tagline.
Yeah, it's like you know, the greatest deal in gaming is all about 7s. So yeah, they fill a gap. And a lot of times you'll find a lot of these really weird, quirky games, especially the indie stuff. I love indie games. That's one of the things about the show floor here. It's so cool. That you're not going to rate like game of the year for some of the games you see out there, but at the same time you're going to think, wow, this version of Joust is really fun, and I'm going to keep playing it. And number 6, it's not a story; it's a series of unfortunate events. There are some very weird narratives in some video games that you don't know how like anything links together, but by the end you're like, yeah, I don't remember any of it, but there are a lot of mentions and a lot of bullet points.
Yeah,
It happened, right?
Yeah,
or
it
you
happened.
can't, like, by the time you get to the third act, you can't remember what happened in the first act. Why am I here? How did I, yeah, whatever, that's the piece is wrong.
yeah, by the time you get to the end of Max Payne 3, you're like, I'm killing a guy in an airport. It started off with me drinking a bar.
Are you sure that wasn't your flight here?
It was a long flight.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting. It's because a lot of companies obviously will development studios will really put a lot of emphasis on story, but there's so much story they're trying to pack in there that you don't know how anything works together. It's like a big mess.
So to like reinforce that, I know the list of games that we're about to talk about. I know the story for literally one of
Yeah.
I think the seventh one is the most important
This is the
one.
most important one, JJ, take it away.
That game's gonna be $20 real fast.
Yeah.
It's you know, it didn't take the world by storm, but enough people said, yeah, it's a good game that they feel like they can make their money back with it being $20 on like GameStop Black Friday weekend.
You see it on Steam selling like, I've heard things about that.
I think one of the best parts of shopping on Black Friday is, one of the best memories I should say, is I think that Prince of Persia game, that remake of Prince of Persia they made years ago, the animated, the cel-shaded one, showed up for like 50 bucks or so, and then like, I think legit a week and a half later, it was like $19.99. And I'm thinking, wow, I really feel really bad for the folks that pre-ordered and purchased it, but they can always be price adjusted, so maybe you can price adjust sevens pretty quickly.
It's a rule to
Oh,
the
yeah,
GameStop, power to the game.
Yeah.
I remember when that game Godfall came out at launch on PS5.
Oh, yeah.
It was like $25 4 weeks later.
Now this is free for
You remember the free version?
Remember Haze? Was it Haze that had?
Oh, that game sucks.
Oh, God. That was
That was sub 7.
a sub seven, but it was sub $7 too.
Hayes gave out drug paraphernalia at PAX West.
Oh,
You would go to the booth and they had they were like mints, and you would open it up and there were caffeinated mints in there. And a mirror on top of the lid, like you're not fooling anybody with what it's in there. And
Don't
now,
forget to look at yourself.
Yeah.
No other thing.
yeah, nothing else. Just caffeinated drugged up mints.
I think one of the biggest ones recently, this is definitely not a seven, but one of the ones that I've been just monitoring the price drop is, I think it's Balan Wonderworld. The nosedive on the price, like every time I refresh GameStop's webpage, it's
All
like,
right, now we're just dunking on cheap We moved on.
we moved on. Speaking of moving on, great segue.
Oh, very well.
Our favorite sevens are why Red Faction Girl is still so damn good. So I gave this one Red Faction Gorilla, and I listed a little quirk there of one of the reviews. Though the explosion scale of progress and the act of detonation continues to be a giddy pleasure, Mars could do with a thicker atmosphere. Thank you, man. That was a great quote. And Jason, you actually,
Jason.
sorry, JJ. You said Remastered Edition is a stupid name.
That's a bad name.
It's done.
It doesn't.
No, I love that.
It doesn't even. I like some good wordplay, but that's not wordplay.
No. Treat it with the exact amount of respect it deserves.
And this game was actually SideQuesting's very first game of the year. Back in yes, the first game of the year. Everything came out on, I think there was like a BioShock game and Dead Space, and it's like, oh, these amazing.
This is before I wrote for some.
Yeah, before you. Mass Effect, but no, it was Red Faction Gorilla, because you could just run around and blow stuff up and like tick off the little mission boxes. I don't remember the story. I know you were on Mars.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And I think like the big selling point was you could
It's
blow up
vaguely,
buildings.
it's vaguely socialism.
Yeah.
You got a gun with
What do you mean that?
Was it the big logo?
The big
with
logo.
hammer?
Well, the hammer part was cool because you just go around knocking all those stupid buildings down, and I think you could like build them back up too. There was like a way that I can't remember. I'll have to play it again.
Yeah, grade 7.
But it was a great 7, and I remember it was like janky. It didn't always control very well, but I remember having just a stupid good time with this game.
The like demolition part seemed like just ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
this building still shouldn't be standing, but
Yeah.
God
Yeah,
bless
but
it.
it still had its level,
Yeah.
its own novel elements
Exactly.
to it, which stood out.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it feel like you can go back to it, but the rest of it was pretty forgettable.
I guess the great thing right now, I'm watching the live stream, and you can't see yourself over this monitor.
Yeah.
So you guys are
That's
really
why
lucky you
I'm
don't have to see him.
Yeah. I won't peek over too much.
But no, like how many of you have played Red Faction Gorilla?
Oh,
Majority of you own it. How many of you have like 18 copies of it across like Epic Store and Steam?
Only
you bought for like
just me.
$2.99. That's maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
How many of you?
Certainly just-
How many of you have named your child RFG? But
Also, just
yeah,
you.
also just me. But I really enjoyed Red Faction Gorilla, and even the stupid remastered edition. I was glad that I think it launched on Switch recently, and then it dropped on sale to like $7.99, perfect price.
I was still working in Game Inform, and at that point, they sent me a Switch copy of it, and it's one of the worst things I've ever played.
Was it a 6.5 or was it?
It was,
7?
I couldn't get through the tutorial because playing that handheld with Joy-Cons was so bad.
Okay, fair.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, first of all, I love this game, and I'm a huge newspaper fan. But let's be real, the real-time strategy stuff, not great. And I wouldn't advertise at all. This game went on the floor of my first E3 in 2009. And the demo was all action adventure, all the marketing for it, like showed it as an action adventure game. Action adventure stuff, awesome. Then every major fight, oh, it's real-time strategy. What? Where did that come from?
There's some flats in there.
So, and I told this quote because I think it makes a good point, like it does try to do too much at once. And if it had just focused on being one or the other, it would have been a much stronger title. But I do look back on this game very fondly. I think it had great story, great voice acting, great art style. So yeah, even though this is like clearly in second territory, it's still a game I talk about fondly.
It's got Jack Black.
It's got that.
It's got some like heavy hitters in the music industry in it.
Yeah.
Like some of them aren't even alive anymore. Like it's an exciting game to like experience just from that aspect of just like a love letter to heavy metal. Like you can't everything from the scenes, backgrounds, the horizon and everything. It's just so like perfectly captured that sort of aesthetic of late 80s, early 80s album, when metal album cover. It was so.
Has it been re-released at all since its original?
And I think it can have on PC, but not
PC
anywhere.
though,
It's still playable on PC. It's not like it's busted on PCs.
So we're live streaming this panel. So hey Tim,
Tim.
I know you're watching, Tim.
Tim, don't be mad at me.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
No, they fucking loving it.
Yes. Yes. The next game, you guys like Konami. You guys like Hideo Kojima.
This is the best game on this list.
This is neither, but it's so cool. Take it away.
I didn't pick this one up.
I think this one was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So,
This is a 10.
it's definitely not a 10. And I love Mediocre Rising. I feel like Mediocre Rising Revengeance is the perfect weekend game. You pick it up on a Friday, you're like, I'm gonna play this a little bit.
For Blockbuster.
But you go to bed, you wake up, and on Saturday, you literally just beat the whole game.
Yeah.
And just because it does cool, again, it's one of those things where it does cool things. They're really fun to do. But that's about the whole game to do it. And then you move on. The story is complete nonsense, but still fun. And yeah, it's.
But what about all of those like very specific bespoke new metal tracks? That every boss fight
Is
or
Korn
lyrics
in
they kick
this-
in
on this
as
album?
you started like
It's
kicking ass.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the kind of game where I have a smile on my face the whole time I play it, and then you drop it and you're like,
Its gameplay mechanics were perfect for this game for the 5 hours this game did.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I don't need any more than exactly that. This intricate sword play, slice a guy open, take his spine out, his robo spine, and crush it with your bare hand. And then go on. In 5 hours you're done, and I'm good. I feel fulfilled.
Also, an excellent selection of bosses for a video game.
Yeah. One of the greatest ending boss fights of all time.
I've got to say that this line, "You're American, you're number one," that made him. I think he was actually president at one point. The next game, this one was.
It's just one of those games where you think about it and you didn't realize that it really was just averagely received when it came out.
Yeah.
Just because
I remember liking this game a lot, and it's kind of game that it comes up in conversation, and I'm just like, oh, Enslaved, I love that game. Great game. And then when I was preparing for this panel, I realized I could not remember a goddamn thing about it.
I remember the ending scene from
Yeah.
it, and since most people here have also probably forgotten it, I'm not going to spoil it. Again,
They
for
get to the
everybody.
west.
Yeah, they
Like vaguely post-apocalyptic,
Yeah.
and there
Yeah.
were two characters for the one co-op, and there was some uncoded style platforming action gameplay. I don't know. Stuff definitely happened in this game, and I enjoyed it. And
Stuff happened.
yeah, it did not stay in my brain at all.
This game was written by Alex Garland, of all people.
Wow.
Like Andy Serkis is both doing the mocap and the voice.
Gollum is in this.
It's monkey.
Wow, that is news to me. And I haven't played this game from start to finish, but
I didn't know that, but that makes sense. Lots.
Yeah. Another game I think that does deserve a re-release, because if this game got re-released, I think the typical score would probably be higher.
Yeah, I bet.
It's also, when I brought up the concept of this panel, this is the game that everybody started on.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
As of last week, it was $3 on Steam.
JJ did the homework of rebuying the majority of the games that we're talking about, and playing through them to give some such sort of. This next one is a classic one. We did talk a little bit about music. There is a music-based-ish game.
Yeah, it's not a rhythm game per se.
But it stars maybe one of the greatest musical heroes of our generation, 50 Cent.
Easily the greatest 7 out of 10 of all time.
this is
Like these other games I'm telling you.
Yeah,
What was that, sir?
this is like the embodiment of like the fan favorite 7 out of 10.
yeah. Everyone loves this game, but nobody would say this game is excellent by any stretch of the imagination. It's clearly started off as a completely different game. I think they even admitted as much. And then they just said, we can get 50 Cent in this game. So
We still got the 50 Cent license, and he owes us one.
So let's record some lines within the G Unit, and I think we can get the Hummer license. We'll do some of that.
G Unit is my favorite Army intel unit.
Okay.
But it's a stupid fun game.
It's so fun.
It's so stupid.
This is
fun.
like the one game of all of them where like you know the entire plot of this game because it's like 3 lines. I performed a concert. They gave me money. They gave me a crystal encrusted skull that some people stole, and now I'm gonna kill every single person involved in taking the skull from me. And that's all I need.
And that was the plot of like the 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the really interesting things about the game is it really is the 50 Cent involvement, because you typically have like any game that has a lot of hip hop ends up being a fighting game, like
Def Jam.
Def Jam, which is by the way another solid set, not Def Jam.
I thought you were gonna say Wu-Tang Shaolin style.
Wu-Tang Shaolin style.
Well, I mean,
But the fact that they, like you said, they just kind of said, hey, we got 50
they had
Cent.
fun with it. They didn't
Let's
try to
just
do anything with it
go
other than make it bonkers, rap infused.
And they said, let's let him
Military
have fun
shooter.
too. I think
Yeah.
he actually, there was a little bit of involvement from his side from what I read. But, points. 1 on the balcony, 50.
Yeah. What were the points for? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Everything?
Who cares?
Everything.
It's like playing Mario.
Yeah.
Like the points are there. You're not getting one up for anything.
Yeah, they're there for accumulation.
Yeah.
There for accumulation. The next one is a classic that I think that you had brought up. See, we did not bring the pile of tomatoes to throw at us, thankfully.
Yes, baby.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the game I looked at as a college apple. It came out when I was 12 years old on PlayStation. It had pop culture references, it had snappy voice acting, and I grew up on Mario and Doom, so I had never seen anything like it.
This is a great combination of the both.
Yeah.
Basically, that's when Mario and Doom love each other very much. And I loved this game. I played it all the time when I was a kid. I played it, well into teenagerhood, and I still have a copy in this ridiculously oversized plastic box that some PlayStation games randomly came in. It's in my apartment, so I do like this game a lot. But when I look at it now, or when I pull it out to give it a play, like it's a platformer, and the platforming kind of sucks. Not ideal.
And it didn't get any better once it went 3D.
No.
Platformer. and, the Gex is like a wisecracking, gecko. But if you're like stuck on something, or if you're replaying a level for the 10th time, and you do the same comments, it's just like, oh my god, just shut up.
This was in that early era of getting celebrities to do voiceover work, and it's just like, what's the most famous comedian doing right now? Can we get a bit? He's unavailable? Okay, what's Dana Gould doing then? And here you go. Updated Dana Gould, Bumsy, or just like, just do it to do it.
I guess it's
No,
hilarious that I can't show it only.
Do it the Bumsy way.
Yeah.
We'll probably get more press.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that I can already know it was dated in 1995, like.
Dated it. Donkey Kong Country 3 is.
Well, so what I think is funny
That's fair.
is as you were describing Gex, I thought of a game from my childhood, which was Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood.
Yes.
Which also so close to being the perfect seven, but also came out in 1995 for
It's
this,
perfect 7-Up.
for the for the Sega Genesis. And it's like the thought that Gex and Cool Spot Goes to Hollywood overlap in the exact same time frame is very, very comfortable.
The brand with attitude,
The brand.
with sevens.
Was that whole mascot era too, right? From like 93 to 95.
Past that, I could.
The next game we have, there was, I think, zero controversy to this game, which is why it's such a 7. That's Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah.
No controversy.
No controversy, no more.
whatsoever.
What could possibly be polarizing on white phosphorus?
Like phosphorus on innocent civilians.
Just normal stuff.
It's normal stuff. And this is one of those games that it plays at best okay, but everything is saved by the writing of this game. And the way it deals with PTSD is interesting and it makes the boring gameplay kind of work a little better because it's like, war's boring, right? Video games. War's boring. It's just
It never changes.
War never changes. And it sort of plays into that because as the game goes along, the gameplay stays the same, but the violence gets more and more aggressive.
Yeah.
And like your character is slipping more and more. Like what starts off as just simple melees turns into like curb stomps by the time you're in the last quarter of the game and stuff. And I don't know, it stuck with me forever. And it's not a great playing game, but it will never leave my brain.
The wonderful rhetoric and the discourse around sports. This next game, I got into a heated online argument with a couple folks because it released right at the same time as Metal Gear Solid 5. And that's Mad Max.
Yeah, it's not as good as Metal Gear Solid 5.
This game is great. There's tons to do. It's the same thing over and over again, which is why I love it. This is the modern Red Faction gorilla, is Mad Max.
Do you want like a checklist to go down?
Listen, I work
It doesn't try particularly good. It looks bad.
Yes.
The character movement isn't great, but it's like there's just so many weird things to it. Like it feels like, oh, we have a bunch of these strange ideas. Let's just throw them into this weird Mad Max game. It's a movie coming out. It has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the
It barely has anything to do with the concept.
No.
You have a cool car, and that's kind of.
You can shoot while driving the car, but it's really hard because the controls were a complete afterthought.
Well, the quote from Giant Bomb is great. I did it because I felt like I was supposed to. Some one weird piece of my brain told me that I was doing what I was doing was fun. And that's essentially like my viewpoint on this was.
Just mainlining content.
I'm literally going through this. I'm checking off boxes like I'm, trying to get my grocery list done for the day or for the week. And by the end, I'm like, oh, I finished. And Max is done. All right, cool. But yeah, it's such a weird game in terms of the development process and when it came out. And again, this dropped to $20 real quick.
Oh,
It's like,
within like, I think it came out in September, and then for Black Friday it was like $15.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry, the next game won't.
The next game won't, because next game is a Nintendo game that
Gonna be full price.
it's gonna be full price forever. I don't know if it was, I added this in just moments before.
Yeah, I did not know.
Yeah, this is a sneak.
Yeah, he took this one on all of
This
us.
is why we did not bring tomatoes in, and it's because it's in a series, an IP that is incredibly beloved, but the latest iteration has a lot of people irked or angry, and because if you enjoy this, then folks like Taylor will tell you that you're actually dumb for enjoying this.
That's not true.
Pokemon Legends Arceus. Thank you. No, he's clapping because I love this game. I'm so enjoying Pokemon Legends. It's like fetch quest after fetch quest. It's my favorite Pokemon game. It is. I played all 3 of the Pokemon games. It's my favorite one. It's genuinely a big change in Pokemon. It went from this sort of turn-based, real basic movement around a map, around an overworld, and some towns here and there. It wasn't open world, it was more like a Monster Hunter style regional area. But I love the aspect of just being able to walk around and see Pokemon, kind of the 3 Pokemon that you actually see on the screen in any area at one time.
It's off in the distance of more.
Off in the
Just
distance.
read the pictures per
For a
second.
really long time while the brains don't work.
Yes. Visually, it's got a cool style, but the actual graphical fidelity isn't great. It's got like a whole 3 frames of movement in some aspects. But look, just look at that scene. It doesn't happen in the game at all. You can't have that scene happen. But I cannot help but love this game because it is such a check the box, go down the list of fetch quests and go from one end of the town to the other end of the town and find the
It's the one
Pokemon that's my kid's dead in a weird
It
way.
is the one Pokemon game where you can actually just have your day wrecked by a Pokemon on a
Yes.
personal level.
Yes, it's the Dark Souls. I've been saying, although I will say, we're gonna get into questions after this. I will say that one thing that I've noticed on the show floor, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but every time I hear somebody say, "You like Souls games?" Well, not our Souls game. I'm thinking 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Hey, that's as far as you're gonna go with me.
And it's mostly a Metroidvania.
You're telling me it's a Metroidvania and calling it a Souls-like. Yeah, so Pokemon Legends Arceus is Souls-like. And now it's time for Q&A and your favorite
Make
segment.
fun of.
Yeah, give us a game. If there's any games you wanna ask about or anything about a segment, feel free to. Otherwise, we'll just babble up here.
We're gonna
Have the
babble.
mic-
Yeah, step up to the.
Step up to the mic, yell at us, tell us how wrong we
Yeah.
are.
We're friendly. Listen.
Talk loud because of the mask.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh my God. I don't know, but
Oh, Larry, turn the mic on. There you go. So you can hear you.
I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
it's good.
There you go. Go.
Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, let's get there. Wait 1 second. And
Game going up.
there we go.
Hooray. All right. So for me, the first game that sort of comes to mind when I think of 7 out of 10 is Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yes.
And one thing I want to preface the game with is I played the game, when you pre-ordered the game for Xbox, you got a outfit that was a pair of jeans and a flannel shirt.
Yes.
And when you play the game wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, it is a completely different experience. And I played through the game and I'm like, yeah, I love this. And everyone's like, oh, that game's so like exploitive. I'm like, it is. I was wearing jeans the whole game. But like, it's just fun. Yeah. You beat that game in 4 hours, but you can keep going back and replaying it over and over. It's basically like an arcade beat 'em up.
And you carry don't you have like your
Your
boyfriend's?
boyfriend's decapitated head.
Boyfriend's decapitated head, throwing quips, written by James Gunn before he did Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you're ready because I'm gonna mention the beloved Sonic Heroes.
Sonic
Yeah.
Heroes. Yes.
It
I
is
think
You said bugs are adhering. That game is 100% bugs. And I love it. Like, I know it's not great. Everybody hates the special stages, but it's like, oh, you just hold B, and then it's done, and it's fine, it's over with. And I'm okay with that.
If you try to do anything to interact with that game in any significant way, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
So you just gotta kind of like play it.
You gotta learn how to manage the Sonic. And once you become one with the Sonic, that game is really fun. I love it.
The only thing 7 has to do is do dopamine in your brain.
Yes.
As long as it achieves
Dopamine.
that, it's probably still hit that level.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's an awesome one. I think a lot of Sonic games that we hold a lot of nostalgia for Sonic.
First thing I ever wrote was about Sonic 2 being one of the best games of all
They have the
time.
Sonic Origins kind of collection coming out. We're like, how good is Sonic in Knuckles for real? Sorry, go ahead.
I've never played Sonic.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. I do play a lot of JRPGs, and one of my personal favorites is the Atelier series, and Atelier Ryza 2.
Oh, and Atelier Ryza too.
Yeah.
Follow up to Atelier Ryza, which actually had a story, so it was like kind of good. But then Atelier Ryza 2 was like really nothing for the entire time.
Very
And then it was
good
stable.
dioramas though.
It's such a 7 because the game is so good, the characters are so interesting, but you do nothing for literally 26 hours. And you're like, all right, I guess I saved the world. So yeah, that's why I like JRPGs to be honest.
Yes.
That is exactly the perfect setting for a JRPG.
It really is. JRPGs have a lot of 7s because I played just a horrible, was it not the last Odyssey? There was Infinite Undiscovered.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually a really bad game, but I couldn't stop playing it because I thought, well, I started, so I have to finish this pile of poop because it's still sitting on my Xbox 360.
It's just a genre of open game.
Yeah.
Same thing over and over again.
It's just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, good idea.
I don't know if this counts, but oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
I don't know if it counts,
That's
but
the Let's go.
it's the Meat Plaza game on Nintendo.
Yes.
Find Me. Because like the only
The
place
Meat
you're
Plaza.
ever gonna find enough people that make any progress is like somewhere like PAX East. Like,
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like you see like people come up like Jared from New Hampshire, or something
I love
like
it.
this, and like something about that is so fun. Seeing all these games and finally kill like a single ghost, you're like,
Yeah.
yes. Also, there is a speed run, which you literally have to spend $30 to complete because you need to buy heroes to do it.
Yes. Yes. Oh my
That's
gosh.
crazy. Like speed run where people spend actual money and actually do the speed run. It's just the joy of like the little by little progress, but the fact that there's really no content or something.
There's zero content there, but you want
I
to.
love
It's
it.
a game you literally can't play anywhere but here.
Yeah.
And rest in peace to the 3DS shop.
How many you brought it with you?
I brought my 3DS with me. I have not gotten one single freaking green light pop up, so I don't know what's going on, folks.
I have 100% an endless ocean.
Endless ocean.
You swim around and you pet fish until little hearts come out of them. There's over 200 fish, and all of them 3 times. There's a story, I think there's something about a magical whale. I don't really know.
I don't remember too many
I don't
details
remember
of
the
the
story.
story.
It has a story. I played this for over 100 hours.
This story kept you around pet fish. And that's all it needed to
The
do.
last time I tried to pet a fish, a dolphin almost took my shoulder off. So maybe I'll play it. Love
You
it.
have some trauma.
I have dolphin fish trauma. Yeah, that's a great
Dolphins are big.
Payday 2.
Payday 2. Yes.
It is
I played very little of
It is
Never
really
did.
enjoying. At one, they use the diesel engine and pump it, and it's driving. It's like driving on 4 wheels. But it is such a great brain, turning off your brain game.
Yeah.
Because you just need to point, like, go here, do this, and then it's going to shoot.
Yes. Yeah. I
It
think
does nothing to further the genre in any way, shape, or form.
And
But it is good enough to play.
it's good enough to play. It's good enough. It works.
Yeah.
It works. And Payday, both Payday games, especially Payday 2, notoriously ever present at PAX East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I have like 18 Payday bags. to give away. Awesome to get. Payday.
I nominate any of the Koei Tecmo insert title here Warriors.
Yes. This is why.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that is a franchise built on the backbone of the 7.
Yeah. And you do so good.
That specifically works because all of the games of Ended Warrior are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just Is there a franchise you like? Do you prefer Gundam over Zelda? Then guess what? Got one for you.
You've got a game that has hack and slash that has a bunch of little inconsequential minions.
Yeah.
And AI, like that, your partners that are totally incompetent. So you have to save all of them.
My favorite aspect, because I have been playing Age of Calamity forever, and Hyrule Warriors, and I love that it tells you, it's like, oh, congratulations, you've now killed 350,000 soldiers in Hyrule. I'm like, how is there anybody left in Hyrule? It's a genocide.
Yeah.
You're a monster, right?
We are all going to die. One day I'm gonna have to look back at our choices, and you're gonna look back at how much time you spent playing.
And it's gonna be like Mediocre Solid 3 when you're like walking through the river and you have to go through all of the people that you killed throughout that game.
How many times did you hug your child?
Age of Calamity. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Time Splitters, Future Perfect.
Yeah, man. I played so much Time Splitters. That game is so good. But again, it's just it's,
Tell it so
I just loved it because it's cheesy as heck. Yes, if you remember, the main character has his tagline. He in canon understands it's a tagline, and every time he goes to, he tries to do it. And even if it's the 70s, the future to the 90s, everybody looks at him and it's just silence. And he goes, blank, blank, fucking.
Fantastic. Time Splitters. Oh, bring that series back.
Playing fantasy MMO Wizard 101. It's like a kid's MMO, so it's part of the appeal is like you start playing it in 2008 and you just never stop. And like most of it is a slog of like MMO fetch quests, and combat is you use 5 spells over and over again because that's the best strategy. But there's enough charm to like the setting and the world and the plot that develops, and like there's always something new in it because it still gets updated. So there's enough to keep you coming back and just enjoy it, even if like it's objectively not amazing.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, someone already kind of stole my idea, but I'm here to make the case for another one of the Warriors games. Last summer, I bought Samurai Warriors 5 solely as filler for when Metroid Dread came out.
Sure.
And
As one would do.
Warriors game.
yeah, I'll just play this as junk food until Metroid comes out and I'll forget about it. And then I look at my playtime at the end of the year, I played Metroid Dread for like 80 hours, and I'm at like 250, and what happened here? And it's just because it's just like, it's just junk food, but it feels so good. You just like run around and feel flashing dudes just doing flashy animations. I just don't get tired of it. It just makes me feel good when I'm playing. I feel happy when I'm doing this. Like, I think that means it's a good game. That's what it is.
It's not asking a lot out of you, and that's really the most you can ask for out of a lot of these things.
Can you push this button over and over again?
And you can make this scene do the same action over and over again, but it just makes me feel good every time. I feel like that means it's doing what it's supposed to do as a game.
Right.
So even if it doesn't, if some of the mechanics are jank, it's just, I don't know, I just really love it.
I love it.
I think that's like another sign of a 70 that it doesn't require a lot of mental bandwidth. That's what you need.
Yeah, sometimes
Like
you
it's
just need
hard,
that
actually
jump.
want to come off the way.
You don't need a T1 line. You can go with the 2885 modem.
Dial it in.
Just dial it in. Thank you.
All right, I have one. It's Mass Effect Andromeda.
Whoa, we were just talking about it yesterday.
Almost
You were
made
in our
this at one
heads.
point.
Yeah, it really was very, very close.
It's a game that got saddled with the Mass Effect branding in such a way that I think if it got pulled away from it, that game was just Andromeda, people would be like all in on that game.
So tell us, like.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of the trilogy, and I bought Mass, even though I kind of stayed away from Mass Effect Andromeda for a few months. I waited till it was like, I don't know, like $15.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Dropped the price.
I really enjoyed it. Like, it's different, which is what I liked about it. Like, it's not gonna be like, it's not Shepard, which I'm okay with. I enjoy playing as Ryder. I enjoy some of the characters, even though some of them aren't as romantical as the other trilogy, but you know, I enjoyed it.
I'm worried that they're gonna do with Andromeda when the next Mass Effect game comes out what Nintendo did with Virtual Boy and say that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Andromeda wasn't a real thing.
Fantastic.
Yes. Thank you.
I wanted to talk about the game Pac-Man World 3.
Which
Because
one?
it's like Pac-Man
Oh,
World
man.
3. Yeah, it's like the Pac-Man World series has been like a platformer series, but the Pac-Man World 3 started out as a different IP, and they were just like, let's make another Pac-Man game instead. So it just turned out into a game that is nothing like the other games. It's just like